Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Anthem. Actually. You may be seated. Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and a Member of Parliament for St. Catharines Southwestern, the Honorable Everald Warmington, the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Mrs. Audrey Sewell, Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, Pastor of the Old Harbour Bay Circuit of Baptist Churches, Reverend Robert Campbell, NHD Board Chairman, Mr. Lennox Channer, and other members of the NHD Board of Directors, the NHD's Managing Director, Mr. Martin Miller, and the management and staff of the NHD, Managing Director of Roseneath Developers Limited, Mr. Malcolm McDonnell, and the management team and staff, representatives of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation, councillors, and other political representatives, or partner agencies in housing and on this project. Allow me to specifically acknowledge the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, represented by Executive Director Dr. Christine Hendricks and her team, other distinguished guests, members of the media, proud NHD beneficiaries, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to you all. Thanks to the two persons that responded. A pleasant morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like a full house. Thank you. My name is Dwayne Burbick. I'm Corporate and Public Affairs Manager at the NHD, and I will be guiding you through this morning's proceedings. So, welcome to the ceremony to formally hand over the keys to units here at Roseneath Park. We welcome all our stakeholders this morning, and with the protocols established, for our speakers, you may keep your salutations brief, as we do have a full slate of individuals lined up to bring greetings this morning. Now, any project is challenging. It's a challenging undertaking, from fulfillment of our customers' expectations to complete the project within time and within budget, And so this is why handover ceremonies for developments are such momentous occasions for us at the NHT. For our contributors, however, it's a different story. Actually, it's multiple stories all ending in immense joy, smiles, and deep appreciation and love for their new home. And before we delve a little deeper in this occasion, let's pause for a moment of thanksgiving. And I now invite Pastor of the Old Harbor-based Circuit of Baptist Churches, Reverend Robert Campbell, to lead us now in a moment of invocation.
I invite us to let us look to the Lord in prayer. Sovereign Lord, the one who reigns over the affairs of humanity and put government in place to serve, such as the present, the Honorable Andrew Holness government. We are grateful to you for a new day. They have new hopes, new possibilities. We are grateful to you for today. We are thankful to you for Jamaica, land we love, a place where systems and structures are put in place to show regard for, to guard our rights and liberty. We praise you. We recognize you as being behind the plans to build over 70,000 houses in 5 years, including the over 3,000 units in St. Catherine. I acknowledge your presence with us today as we witness that which began as a concept but has now become a reality. A concept that includes Silver Sun Estate, Orchard Chemtech Development, and 167 units for Roseneath. Today we praise you for your faithfulness in helping to make possible the churning out at Roseneath in 2022 as was promised by our government. It is with a sense of joy we say thanks to you and all you have worked through in many and varied ways to make today a reality. We pray your continued blessing and guidance on our government, including our Prime Minister, led by our Prime Minister, upon NHT, and upon all persons who are part and parcel of making the dream of the 70,000 houses a reality. We say thanks to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And thank you very much, Reverend Campbell. And as we keep our program moving, we now invite Chairman of the NHT, Mr. Lennox Channa, to the lectern. And Mr. Channa will bring our official welcome this morning, and he will also make a few remarks. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. And thank you, Reverend Campbell, for blessing this function. Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, all of the protocols previously mentioned, respectfully observed. NHT board members, management, and staff, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And welcome to the handing over ceremony for these well-designed units here at Roseneath Park. It is great to be back here in St. Catherine, having just handed over housing units in August at Catherine Estate in association with the Housing Agency of Jamaica. Both handing over ceremonies are significant for two primary reasons. They highlight the NHT's continued commitment to housing Jamaicans and the increased pace at which this is being done. They also highlight the importance of collaboration. Throughout the phases of our nation's history, we are constantly reminded that there is strength in the coming together. Today, we are demonstrating just how partnership has made the homeownership dreams a reality for another set of well-deserving Jamaicans through the joint efforts of the NHT and Roseneath Developers Limited. Among the wide cross-section of beneficiaries here today, you will find individuals at every income band, age group, or gender. There are persons who have created history in their families, There are those young homeowners who are laying the foundation for their future family. There are also persons with very specific and special needs who will be able to occupy a move-in ready unit, already modified by the NHT to meet their needs. Every new homeowner here signifies that what we do and the programs that we have implemented continue to make a difference. Programs like our home grant, deferred and intergenerational mortgage facilities, and low interest rates continue to make home ownership affordable and, most importantly, possible. New homeowners here at Roseneath Park benefited from our 100% financing for NHT schemes policy, and the NHT continues to pursue its role within the market as a financier and driver of construction. Forging strategic partnerships and alliances have become even more critical to meeting the growing housing demand. Through a deliberate thrust to create affordable housing products, initiatives such as our New Developers Program and the Guaranteed Purchase Program, GPP, under which Roseneath Park was developed, assist us in meeting this demand. In 2018, we took that strategic decision to reach out and engage the private sector to assist us in meeting our mandate, which led to the introduction of the GPP. This initiative has allowed for the harnessing of financial and other resources within the private and public sector to facilitate the completion of housing developments. The program has created more opportunities to bridge the gap between supply and demand for affordable housing. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the team at Roseneath Developers Limited, and in fact all our GPP developers and small and medium contractors, and our NHT staff who have helped us provide affordable and accessible housing solutions. Today we are pleased to announce the first 30 units here at Roseneath Park are ready for distribution, and in the coming months the additional units will be distributed as they become available. To our beneficiaries, welcome home and congratulations again. Amid all this fanfare, today is really all about you and your achievement. And today you've graduated into the ranks of mortgager, which comes with a new set of responsibilities. I encourage you to take care of your home and community and work with the local stakeholders to maintain your investment. The NHT is your partner in this home ownership journey and will always be there to support you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and please enjoy the rest of the day's proceedings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chana. And as you listen to the chairman's remarks, you would realize that he spoke a little bit about that word called partnership. And a key element of the NHT brand is indeed partnership. And one area in which the NHT has built a strong partnership is with our developers. And we are pleased to have worked with Roseneath Developers Limited for this project. And I now invite their managing director, Mr. Malcolm McDonald, who will bring a few remarks and to bring you greetings. Make him welcome as well.
Good morning, all. Mr. PM, Minister of Security, and ladies and gentlemen, as the phrase goes, all protocols observed. I'm pleased to be here this morning on behalf of Roseneath. It's just a little company with 168 houses in 70,000. It doesn't count for very much, but it takes a lot of effort. And much thanks to the sales team with Eugene and from Millennium, and the directors and shareholders of Roseneath who have put a lot of time and effort. Also thanks to the NHT executives that we deal with. They are competent, they're professional, and not always easy to deal with, but they have good hearts. The houses here are pretty standard, but we are happy with the quality of the units. I had the pleasure of using the facilities this morning, and I'm pleased to tell you that the bathroom works. The hot water was so hot that I had to turn it off very quickly. And they're very pleasing. Inside is cool because they are insulated. The roof, on top of the metal roof, there is a ceiling, drywall to seal off the roof from the house, and the ceilings are very high, so it makes the units cool. Even in a day like today when the windows are open, they're pleasant. We have tried to give as much value as we can within the constraints of the price. There are hot water heaters for the bathroom. There are water tanks. There's a water pump, so there is a reserve of water. And you will notice we even put a nice colorful driveway to create an area where you can meet and sit out on if you have friends. So we thought that was nice. It coordinates with the color of the units. So we have done what we can to make the units pleasant and of good value. In talking briefly about value, you know, as developers, we're constantly made aware of what's going on in the market. These units were sold for, with escalation, about 13 million in that region. We just got a valuation for one. Roseneath has lots of its own that were not sold to NHT. And we have recently concluded a contract for $18 million on the identical unit. So the good news for the purchasers is that they have received at least a 50% appreciation before they've even moved in. And that's what makes families stable, when they have value and they have feet on the ground that they are proud of. So we're happy to be a part of that. In terms of going forward, it's going to be very challenging because with the pandemic and the things that have happened with pricing, I don't think anybody could have contemplated the price increases that have taken place. We have recently had contractors quoting on units, and the prices are up. Their price, and that's just on the house, not the infrastructure, not the roads, not the sewage, not the water, just the house, between 55 and 60%. And that's 3 different contractors. So it's going to be very, very, very challenging. Having said that, there are just 2 things I would like to suggest to the powers that be in terms of enhancing the whole process. One is the approval process is very slow. When I lived in Houston 35 years ago, they have a slightly different way. You have the same approvals, but they make the professionals, the architect, the engineer, the QS, they have to sign off on the plans. And once they sign off, approval takes place within about 3 weeks. Now, if they sign, and that is done on the basis of published guidelines for construction, and if they sign off on those plans and there is deviation, they pull their professional qualification. And it works amazingly. I just throw it out there as a means of speeding up the process, because getting approvals through the local authority, the municipality, can be anywhere from 9 months to 2 years, sometimes more. I just leave that with you. But I am very happy to be with you. And PM, you have a big vision, and we thank you for it. And by the way, thank you for leading Jamaica well, because we do not take for granted the relative peace and security that we all enjoy. We know the problems, but we're not at war, and we enjoy that level of peace and security, and that comes from good leadership. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. And, I think a lot of persons in this space would perhaps disagree with you this morning that 170 units in the grand scheme of 70,000 is not a lot. In Jamaica, there's a little adage that says, every mickle make a muckle, one cocoa full basket. So the 170 units that are being provided through Roseneath Developers Limited, they're not just welcomed, they're appreciated. So thank you, Mr. McDonald, and thank you, Mr. Harris. You've been guiding the team here. And talking about value, and talking about one cocoa full basket, and appreciation for whether it's 10, 20, or even 170 units. I think our next speaker knows very well what the value of 170 units mean for his constituency. So it's now my pleasure to invite the Honorable Everald Warmington, Minister without Portfolio, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and the St. Catharines Southwestern Member of Parliament, home of Roseneath Park, to bring us his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremony, Most Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my absolute pleasure to attend this Handover Ceremony for the Roseneath Housing Development as the Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Catherine. And may I stress again, as the Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Catherine. There is no more heartening occasion to me than watching hard-working Jamaicans reap the fruit of their labor. This handing over ceremony to the 30 beneficiaries of the Roseneath housing development has special significance for me because I understand what own ownership means to us in Jamaica. Prime Minister, Most Honorable Andrew Holness, recall that we were here together in this constituency not too long ago for another significant event, the systematic land registration titling ceremony instituted by the National Land Agency when we delivered several titles to people of this constituency. For the new homeowners here at Roseneath, this is a life-changing moment because this achievement is the culmination of years of diligence and sacrifices for many of you. This occasion is also a testimony to your fellow Jamaicans that ownership is indeed possible once it is done correctly. This development here in Roseneath represents much more than a roof over a recipient's head. It also represents security. Our vision is for Jamaica. Our vision is for a Jamaica where sufficient housing choices are available. We believe that nobody should be left behind. The Most Honorable Prime Minister has articulated 70,000 housing solution within 5 years, and the government continues to work towards this target with our vision, with our various partners and stakeholders. I want to commend the Roseneath Development Limited. I wish to move off strip at this stage because I don't believe I can say I commend the National Housing Trust. I don't want to rain on any parade, but I'm going to go off strip. Mr. Prime Minister, you'll forgive me, and I ask your understanding. I'm here this morning because the Prime Minister is present, and if I wasn't here, it would appear as if it's disrespect to him. But I'm not here for the Housing Trust because they show little or no regard for me and this constituency, and that is reciprocated by me. The disrespect, the arrogance that is displayed or extended to me and this constituency by the person who runs the Housing Trust, Donald Moore, or the person who appears to own it. The disdain that he has, the utter disdain for elected representative. I cannot continue with this presentation but to come off script refused to speak to me and the constituency about Colby Castle. I want to make it clear, and Prime Minister, again, forgive me and understand the hurt that I feel. For Representative, the only person in this country that garners more than 11,000 votes in the last election during pandemic with a 5,000 majority. The Housing Trust showed that disregard and disrespect to me and this constituency. And let me make it quite clear. The Housing Trust will not have an entrance to Colby Castle through the Bodles Agricultural Station. You will not enter through the Banana Research Station. You will not enter through Northern Colby Castle to allow the student going to that school to be raped and attacked by people in those dark corners. You will use the original entrance. You will have to rebuild that bridge to take you into the development. You will have to commit to the section of the land that was given to, left there by BRC developers, the developer before you guys got there. That is where the school will be. The road will be through where the original entrance. The bridge must be rebuilt. Without that being done, Colby Castle development will not go forward.
Thank you very much, Minister Warmington, for your greetings. And I think I can say on behalf of the NHT, we note your concerns regarding that project in your constituency at Colby Castle. And I'll give you an assurance here publicly that we remain committed to resolving those issues in good time so that the development can be properly completed and that the residents in your constituency will truly benefit from the housing solutions that the NHT has planned there. As we move our program along, today's handing over ceremony has a special link to the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The NHT and the JCF, in that tone of partnership with which we've been speaking about since this morning, we've partnered in several other areas, but today there's a connection with Roseneath Park that's, for want of a better word, is personal to the JCF. And I'll now invite Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, and he will tell you more about that link and why Roseneath Park is significant. Let's invite him at this time to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really a pleasure to be here this morning. I recognize our Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, my colleague, Minister Warmington, Clifford Warmington, and you'll see why Minister Warmington will get the most votes in this constituency. Right? You spoke. Members of the Housing Trust team, Mr. Channel, and the members of the National Housing Trust team, the leadership of I see Mr. Miller here, Martin Miller, Managing Director, and of course Mr. McDonald and his team from the Roseneath developers, himself and the contractors who may be present, the new homeowners in the audience, and members of the constituency of Southwest St. Catherine. Good morning to you. It's my pleasure to really be here. It's given me great pleasure to join this morning this very simple ceremony of handing over a particular home to one individual. The Prime Minister will speak to the Housing Trust policy, and so I'm just speak to his own interest in this particular scheme, which is in his constituency. But today, there'll be a home handed over to Constable Owen Graham, police officer since 2018, who joined the force and had a serious accident and has been physically impaired since. Had trauma in his family as well, and for that reason, as I said, became severely physically impaired. And the Housing Trust, on the instruction of the Prime Minister, after a request was made from the Commissioner's office, I think Mr. Wilson, our Superintendent Wilson, who has been a leader of the Federation for many years and now operates from the Commissioner's office in charge of police welfare. But this is more than a welfare grant, in that Constable Graham served with distinction. He was injured while at work in a service vehicle accident, and as I said, had further trauma in his family. Hard-working, honest young man who is committed to good order and public safety, and faced with a severe challenge in not only a comfortable home, but one that could accommodate him given his physical impairment. And therefore, I feel very satisfied that the Housing Trust, I said, on the instruction of this Prime Minister, who from time to time may be called the builder. He builds houses. He's seeking to not only build houses, but he's creating communities and building homes. And this is a home for Constable Owen Graham. Got to be adjusted to accommodate him because of his physical impairment. Constable Graham said is, and I think it's symbolic of the challenges the police face, and the home is symbolic of the care of Andrew Holness as Prime Minister and the one who oversees the Housing Trust. Constable Graham said, operating as a police officer, in this case, it's a service vehicle accident, but whatever happened, when on duty, the risk of being hurt by criminals is high, but they have to move always in a dynamic fashion, always moving to go where the challenge is to serve the community. And it means they're taking risk with their physical safety in order to provide safety and public order for Jamaican, honest, law-abiding Jamaican citizens. And they, from time to time, will suffer injuries. And this, I said, symbolic of the care and concern of this Prime Minister, not only to build communities across Jamaica, but to pay attention to servants of the public servants who will face challenges on their job and end up being injured or hurting otherwise. So the special, it's designed under law, a special accommodation given for Constable Graham with an instruction of this Prime Minister who is responsible for the, and whose portfolio the National Housing Trust operates. The National Housing Trust, of course, is like a bank. The Housing Trust contributors go there, but it falls in the portfolio of the Prime Minister, and policy changes have to be made on his direction, and sometimes necessary legislation made to accommodate special cases. So Constable Graham, who still operates with the police force from his wheelchair, but will have a home that he can enter modified to suit his condition. I want to commend Mr. Wilson, who made the active representation, but the commissioner who has said, created the office for the first time, to have someone as a police officer in the commissioner's office who can look at this kind of detail, as we say in management, granular activity, to keep in touch with the challenges of the police officers, and when it arises, can make the required representation. And there was a positive response. I want to, express my personal satisfaction on behalf of the entire police force and the Ministry of National Security and all the officers of the country, Jamaicans who are putting themselves at risk to seek to bring good order and public safety in the country. But the police force is at the front line. They are the primary law enforcement agency. They face all challenges. They go from being counselors for domestic violence issues with family member dispute, to helping the old lady on the road try to cross the road, to dealing with hardcore criminals who are firing machine pistols, trying to kill citizens, killing and attempting to kill police officers. It's a national police force that faces all the spectrum of challenges that a police force have to deal with in the country. And I appreciate I say to the Prime Minister and the House Trust, I express my sincere gratitude for the respect shown and the grant given to Constable Owen Grant. And today I want to also commend the officers for the work they're doing. We are not a perfect organization. The officers do not tell me that, but they work hard, they put themselves at risk, and they, in fact, maintain a level of good order in the country. We do have challenges, and we're working at them, and they have demonstrated their commitment and their willingness to face the most severe danger. And I'm confident, given the number of officers being trained, the recruitment, and Jamaicans still take pride in joining the police force. We have had no challenge in finding numbers, and this government is undertaking to expand the force to a more acceptable number. We are looking at 15,000, where we can provide greater presence in numbers and provide the tools for them to fight crime with, but I'd rather use the term to ensure public safety and good order, and doing many activities to do so. So let me say to the police officers again, I express my appreciation, but to the Housing Trust, to the Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, please accept the sincere gratitude of the entire police force for this gesture to Constable Owen Grant, a fine young officer who has been a member of the Jamaica Police Force, among Jamaica's finest. Had his injury, but today we can look forward to Constable Graham entering a home of his own, but a home that is modified to meet his special needs. Thank you, everyone, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Minister Chang. And at this time, we're changing the atmosphere a little, changing the tone. I think it's up time for a little bit of entertainment to lighten the mood of our beneficiaries and the spirits of this event. So you've heard them before. They've been performing for us since this morning, but now they have a special selection for us. And at this time, for a musical interlude, let's put our hands together and welcome once again the Jamaica Constabulary Force Band.
You sheltered me from storm, kept me warm, kept me warm, and you gave my life to me. You set me free, set me free. The finest years I've ever knew is all those years I've had with you, and I will give everything I own, gift of my life, my heart I own, and I will give everything I own just to have you back again, just to talk to you once again. Yeah. 'Cause is there someone you know that won't let you go and taking you out for granted? You will lose them one day, someone take them away, and you don't hear a word they say. I will give everything I own, gift of my life, my own, I own, and I will give everything I own just to have you back again, just to talk to you once again. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JCF Band. They protect, they serve, they reassure, them sing good, and them play music good, right? Another round of applause for them, please. And thank you very much to the soloist and the rest of the band. Now, our next speaker has been on a mission to do two things where housing is concerned. One, build as many as possible, and two, as affordable as possible. And in that regard, he continues to challenge the NHT in making this not just a vision, but a reality. To share more on his vision for housing, we invite Prime Minister and Portfolio Minister with responsibility for the NHT, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, and he will bring us a keynote address for today's ceremony.
Thank you, Dwayne. For a moment, I thought you were going to transform into Trevor Berbick and take on Minister Warmington. I'm happy you have gotten the joke, but I must say that you handled it quite diplomatically. And just for the record, Minister Warmington, you are not forgiven. Our Deputy Prime Minister is here, but this time in his capacity as Minister of National Security. And we also have the Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, because today's presentation has some significance as a special member of, or former member of the JCF will be a beneficiary. And I want to say a few words before I officially begin my presentation about the JCF. The JCF obviously is the organization that sometimes we love to hate. It's quite unfortunate because we don't truly know the JCF as an institution and how valuable it is as a Jamaican institution. Take my word when I say to you, it is the institution standing between us and chaos. For whatever its faults or shortcomings, it is one of the best law enforcement entities in this region. I'm not convinced by the clap, but it is a situation that I have to treat with because there is this sense of unresolved issues that oftentimes, for the average person, sometimes it comes down to even resentment. The JCF comes from us. There is no community in Jamaica where there is not a member of the JCF that hails or has some connection with that community. None. So whatever the JCF is, it is also a reflection of the general society. But the JCF is not just a policing body. The JCF has some of the finest computer programmers and coders and cyber experts in the country. They have some of the finest logisticians in the country. They have some of the finest builders and construction experts in the country. And they have one of the finest musical bands in the country. It is a fantastic organization, an asset to Jamaica. And until we start to see this as our constabulary force, and not the constabulary force which arose out of the 1865 Morant Bay Rebellion. Until we begin to see that this is not a force designed to oppress, but a force designed to protect. We have to start to see that. And I hope that by some of the things that I have said today about the JCF, that you start to look at the organization in a different way. The government has taken a decision that we have to expand the JCF. And, you know, we are now at about 13,000 commissioner, and we will probably go up to just over 15,000. Because without the ability to deploy force in ways such as with the coverage of emergency powers, then we will have to deploy in mass to get the coverage that we need. So we have to rapidly expand the force. And where are we going to get the people from? We're not going to import them from other countries. They're going to come from your community. They are going to be your brothers and your sisters. They're going to be members of your family and your community and from your school and church and football club, your friends. So we better start owning the JCF as our organization to protect us against the criminals and other threat actors in our society. The unfortunate thing is that we are embracing these criminals and threat actors and pushing away our police force, which is what creates the space for criminality to flourish. But this is not a presentation on the JCF, but you know, whenever I get these opportunities, I have to make these points. They don't always get carried. Sometimes I wonder, you know, what is picked up and carried, but hopefully they will get into the circulation and people will begin to hear it and probably start to think differently. Handing over of houses to my fellow Jamaicans always gives me great pleasure, as each house handed over means that one more family has received an opportunity to make home ownership a reality and to start their journey in the creation of generational wealth. What a joy it is to finally own your own home and to pay mortgage instead of rent. This is the dream of most Jamaicans, including the young lady with the, what color hair was that last week? With the orange hair last week. She is the epitome of the Jamaican ambition to own her own home. Epitome of it. That is it. But it has to be done orderly. And what we are trying to show the Jamaican people is that there is a working and ongoing and expanding orderly process of getting your dream fulfilled of having your own home. Every week there is a home or houses being handed over. And we make a point of duty of doing this to get into the minds of the people who believe that not now go on, not now work, and if you play by the rule, you get shafted. If it is one thing that you will say about this administration, is that on a weekly basis, houses are being built and handed over. On a weekly basis. And we are going to expand that rapidly. So, this dream of owning your own home is being recognized today for 30 contributors to the National Housing Trust in the Roseneath Park development. The Roseneath Park development is part of the Guaranteed Purchase Program. We call it the GPP program. And in this program, just a quick overview, the NHT purchases homes from the private contractors and then makes those homes available. The purchase is, however, at a guaranteed price before construction begins. In this development, the National Housing Trust is acquiring 140 detached two-bedroom units and 70 of those units are going to be made available this morning. So what will happen is that the NHT will purchase, as I've said before, 140 detached two-bedroom units, but 70 are ready or will be ready in phase one. And 30 are now being handed over. The project will provide paved roads with curbs, street names, and I believe traffic signs and stormwater drains, a water distribution network, a chain link perimeter fence, a central sewage collection treatment system, and an electrical distribution infrastructure with street lights. So this is a complete community with infrastructure. My friend with the orange here, though she probably would have built her home, she would not have had access to all these amenities to truly create a home out of the house that she would have built. And probably would not have it for years. Land within the development has been earmarked for green spaces, recreational and commercial activities, a school, and a church. Certainly, they would not have had access to all of these amenities. Now, the units are 7,331.8 square feet, and the lot sizes range from 3,500 square feet to 6,660 square feet. The units in phase one are being sold for $12.5 million. Now, $12.5 million I would consider to be very reasonable given the market conditions that we are in. They are not quite at the point that we have created as a threshold of affordability. And we would want to see more houses coming in closer to $10 million as the point of affordability. We had started out with the point of affordability being $8 million. But we have to be practical. Steel prices have virtually doubled. Lumber prices have increased dramatically. Cement prices went up, and during the pandemic, shipping costs increased. So there was no way that we could maintain that threshold price of affordability. So the threshold price of affordability, based upon the inflationary effect of the pandemic and the war in the Ukraine, we are now targeting house prices in the range of $10 million. This is very close to it, still not as affordable as we would want, but it is still a very reasonable price. Of the 70 units being purchased by the NHT in phase one, 19 have been reserved for public sector workers and persons with disabilities. The remaining 51 were offered to selectees, and I will share with you some of the demographics of the beneficiaries of the homes. Not surprising, 69% are women. So the young lady who I spoke with last week, Friday, she would have had a very good chance of being selected for an NHT housing solution. The question we will have to find out from her is, are you a contributor? I hear somebody who knows her saying, yes, she is. Then that is good news. So, you know, we should really take the opportunity to encourage all Jamaicans who want to own a home to become a contributor to the NHT, either self-employed or ensure that your employer is making your contributions to the NHT. 33% are young adults between 19 and 35 years of age, yes. 37 are between, that is 37%, are not so young adults between 46 and 55 years of age. Now, the occupations of the selectees are 51% would be classified within the accounting, administration, and clerical fields. 20% would be within the technical services field. 14% within education sector, 8% within the security, justice, and public safety sector, and 4% within the medical and wellness sector, and another 4% provided housekeeping services. So you can see that a range of professions, meaning a range of income levels, are catered to with this price point of development. Now, 39% earn between the minimum wage and $15,001 per week. So that's a significant number of the beneficiaries earn just above minimum wage per week. So that's a very important point, because when I spoke to the people last week in the community, their concern was that if they were to exclusively depend on this formal process of acquiring a home, would their income give them access to a mortgage that would give them access to a housing solution? They're very concerned about that. Not just the affordability in terms of what the house costs, but would they be earning enough to qualify for a mortgage? The other issue is many of them do not earn consistently, but mortgages have to be paid monthly, consistently. How do we create a facilitation, a mechanism where people who are not earning consistently on a monthly basis can also be facilitated in this formal process of owning their own home? So that is an area I'm saying to the chairman and the managing director of the NHT that we need to look at. So we are well on the way in meeting the threshold target affordable price point of $10 million, right? Let's all keep our fingers crossed that inflation or some other world event doesn't throw off prices again. We are well on our way in ensuring that everyone who qualifies for a mortgage can get a mortgage at really affordable interest rates. The only challenge now is to match the income flow of some of the beneficiaries with the required mortgage consistency in terms of payment. And a special focus will have to be placed on that. Now, just to go back to the profile of the beneficiaries here, 43% earn between 30,000 per week and 42,000 per week. So you see, there is a relatively good balance and good share, because 39% of the beneficiaries here are earning minimum wage or just over, and 43% are earning 30,000 per week to 42,000 per week. And I think that's a fairly even distribution of access to housing based upon income levels. Now, as you can appreciate, the selectees come from all walks of life. And the system of selecting the beneficiaries, it is quite transparent. And let me say up front and clearly, there is no political interference. I can tell you 100%, you know, people come to me every day, boss, I see a scheme, I go over the, make me get one, no? And I am very clear to them, I have absolutely no powers in determining who gets a house that the NHD is putting on the market. I'm very clear with that. And I have given clear directives to the political directorate that no one should ever seek to interfere or try to exercise any influence on how persons, beneficiaries are selected for the houses that come on the market. It is purely an exercise that is transparent and can easily be interrogated. If you have the points, you meet certain criteria, you will get the house. Now, the development, as I've said before, is done under the NHD's Guaranteed Purchase Program, which was introduced in November 2018. Under this program, developers conceptualize and execute their development plans, while the NHD absorbs the market risk by purchasing the units in the development. This approach seeks to leverage the efficiencies within the private sector in order that units can be delivered at lower costs within faster time frames, and with the private partner assuming most of the implementation risk. Once the design and costs are agreed, the developers have sole responsibility for implementing, maintaining, and closing out the project. And just to do a quick explanation of that so that people understand, one of the challenges we have in rapidly expanding the formal process of building houses, so that my friend with the orange here does not have to resort to informal means, is that we simply do not have enough contractors that can build at scale and at the quality required. We just simply don't have. So that is what we call a supply side constraint. The other issue is that there are many risks involved in development. One risk was pointed out by the representative of the contractors, that you may get into a development, mobilize resources, take interest cost risks and inflation risks and all other kinds of risks, and you are sitting waiting on approvals to come. And the longer the approvals take, the greater your exposure to risk. And at the end of the day, you can't expect the private developer to bear all the risk and then to absorb the cost. When the houses are finished, they're going to be at cost plus their profit. So government has to find a way to mitigate risks or absorb risks. And one way to do that is to say to the contractors, okay, the risk that you would face, which we call a market risk, of you building the house and no one buying it, we will take that risk off of you by buying the houses up front. So you don't have to worry about building and not having a sale. So immediately as you have built the houses, we take them off you. You can program your cash flow based upon that commitment as well, it eliminates other risk exposures. So the government is using its resources to make the housing market work more efficiently. And I recommend the GPP program to all private contractors who are out there. Contact the NHT if you have a good program, and let's see how it can work. That would rapidly expand the number of houses that we bring to market. Now, as I said before, the completed units that the NHT has purchased in the private development would be made available at reasonable price. As we have said here, $12.5 million to qualified and selected beneficiaries. Now, projects approved under our guarantee purchase program, I want to share a few of them with you. We have Silver Sun Estates in St. Catherine, where 1,200 units have been secured. Roseneath Park here, 140 detached units have been secured. There's a development in St. Anne called Out of the Blue, a very interesting name. I can just imagine the development itself. 200 two-bedroom units have been secured. Spot Valley in St. James, 240 one-bedrooms and 178 two-bedrooms have been secured. Catherine Estates in St. Catherine, 376 duplex studios have been secured. 458 one-bedroom units have been secured. In Savannah Park in Westmoreland, 41 two-bedroom units have been secured. In Brompton Manor in St. Elizabeth, 53 two-bedroom units have been secured. In total, we have 2,878 housing solutions secured under the GPP. And that's very good, but I think much more can be done. I think the NHD should promote the program much more. You would probably find more private sector persons being willing to get involved in building affordable housing once they know that there is this program that mitigates and minimizes some of their market risks. To date, the NHT has contributed to over 37,000 housing solutions in the parish of St. Catherine through various programs. And by the way, this is 37,000 housing solutions in just over 40 years. And we are planning to build 70,000 in 5. So I want you to understand the magnitude and that the ambition that my friend last week showed in trying to build our home. The government is showing equal ambition in trying to build 70,000 houses. Because we understand that if we don't increase the pace and scale of formal housing development, people are always going to see squatting as a legitimate route to owning their house. So in addition to enforcement, government is also trying to fulfill its duty and obligation, which we should have been fulfilling for the past 4 decades with more ambition. We are trying to catch up now. So I'm asking the Jamaican people to understand. To understand. Now, the NHT's current housing plan for St. Catherine includes 4 schemes, housing schemes, to complement previous housing developments. And the 4 developments will bring to the market a further 4,351 housing solutions. And where are these schemes? In Catherine Estates, 825 housing solutions. That would be what the NHD is sponsoring in that development. And those will come on the market between 2022 and 2026. Already, I have handed over close to 100 units already in that housing development. And as the houses are completed, they will be handed over. the villages of Colbeck, we will resolve these matters. I actually had a meeting with the NHT team looking at the alternatives. There are always issues on both sides that we have to consider. And the safety of the students are all, we always treat human safety as paramount. And so we'll take a look at what the Member of Parliament has suggested. He made sure to say that he was not here as a minister, because he knows that if he were here pretending in any other capacity, so that will be 2,186 housing solutions, which are needed. And so the matters raised by the Member of Parliament must be taken into consideration. And we'll find a way to resolve the issues, because we need those 2,186 housing solutions. We have Silver Sun Estates. There's 1,200 units there. And of course, Roseneath is 140 here. So now I want to say something about the NHT's subsidy policies. I think it is important to recognize that all beneficiaries receive a subsidy from the NHT, in that the NHT mortgages, the rates of the NHT mortgages, that is, have always been below market rate for all beneficiaries. So anyone who has or is seeking to get an NHT mortgage, you are getting a subsidy, because there is no private mortgage rate that is as low as the highest NHT rate. So technically, everybody gets a subsidy from the NHT. However, in a recent review of the data, we recognize the need to provide even greater subsidies to our lowest income earners of all ages, the most vulnerable among us, and to persons with disabilities. This is what we call an income contingent approach to subsidies. So one, even the richest person in Jamaica, if they get an NHT mortgage, they get a subsidy. But you have to also look at it to say, all right, why should the richest person and the poorest person get the same subsidy? No, shouldn't be. And what we have tried to do is to recalibrate our subsidy policy. Now, in that recalibration, there are some people who feel that the subsidy that they would normally get, they won't get anymore. And what we have tried to do in making changes is that if we're going to make a change, we're going to try to ensure that no one is worse off. We're going to do our best to ensure no one is worse off, but at least one person is better off by the change. And in everything that we do, that's how we operate as a government. And I want to give you an example of how we have made this income contingent policy more beneficial for the most vulnerable, particularly those who are disabled. Under the new policy, the special grant for persons with disabilities was increased from $150,000 to $300,000, doubled. It should be noted that the grant is not a loan. This is money that we give to a disabled person who is a beneficiary of an NHT solution. The beneficiary is not required to repay that. What the increase in the subsidy provides is that a maximum of 2 mortgagors with disabilities, or one with a disability and a caregiver residing in the same household, can also now access up to $600,000, with each receiving $300,000 of grant funding. So if there are two disabled persons living in the same home, they can get $600,000. And if there's one disabled person and a caregiver, and the caregiver is entitled to an NHD benefit or is a beneficiary, they can get their $300,000 as well. So we have expanded the benefit for persons with disability. By doubling the grant, these persons are in a better position to upgrade their home to meet their special needs. The benefit to the recipient is direct to take care of the immediate needs rather than as reduced interest rate over the life of the mortgage. So the question was, if we remove the interest rate subsidy from persons with disability and then gave them back an upfront grant and double it, which is better? Clearly, the small interest rate reduction over the mortgage payments over its life, 20 years or whatever, is small and insignificant compared to having the ability to do the upfront development of your home to facilitate your disability so you can get the utilization of the benefit, not incrementally, but right away. And so the policy change is much better, much more catering and serving the needs of persons with disability. Additionally, effective August 2022, scheme units that are allocated to persons with disabilities will be outfitted with the requisite amenities to enable maximum functionality. The associated additional costs will be borne by the NHT and not the beneficiary. I wonder if you realize what we have said, that effective August 22, that just gone, when we build a house and the beneficiary, that is the NHT, builds the house or facilitates it through the GPP or whatever other program, and the beneficiary is someone with a disability, the NHT will retrofit the house. So the disabled beneficiary will have to contemplate that cost. That's a massive benefit that we have given to the disabled community. Again, in keeping with our subsidy contingent on income or vulnerability. I think that is fair and equitable. So for example, in the Roseneath Park development where we are today, we have with us former Constable of Police Owen Graham. Raise your hand, Owen, so people can see you. As was explained by the Minister of National Security, Mr. Graham, constable as he was then, still is paralyzed from the waist down because of an accident while on duty. Constable Graham is receiving one of the units here, which has been modified using the guidelines provided by the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. His unit was retrofitted to improve access, functionality, and comfort at no additional cost to him. The modifications made include the installation of grab bars in the bathroom, the installation of access ramps, a customized shower design, customized kitchen cupboards, and a change to the internal walls from drywall to reinforced concrete walls to facilitate the installation of relevant accessories. I want to assure my Jamaican family that your government recognizes the challenges being experienced by our people with respect to home ownership. The problem is rooted in our history, and we'll never escape that history of enslavement and injustice. But my administration is not just going to mope on our history. We're not just going to say an inequity was done. My administration says we are responsible for our own destiny now. And we're not going to wait on anyone to make reparations. We are going to repair our own problems, though that doesn't absolve those who did us wrong. But we're not waiting on them. We are going to correct our problems. And that's what it means to be an independent and sovereign state. We take responsibility for our problems. So, if you want to know what taking responsibility looks like, it means acknowledging that we have these historical injustices, that there was never a system that created equal endowments for all generations. Ownership of property is not 3 or 4 generations deep in this country for every single family. There are still generations of Jamaicans coming out of the plantation that own no property. And that is an injustice. But when you are a state and you are an independent state, you have to enforce law and order. The rule of law is absolutely important to the state. Absolutely important. It is the rule of law that will ensure equity and fairness. Because let me ask you now, how come my friend with the orange here get access to the land over there, and some of you here never get access to it? What was the system? Some people say, why in a business, as long as one of them get it. But it can't work like that. So we have to put in place a system that is fair and transparent, that avoids chaos, but from a smarter point of view, that ensures that everybody can get access. So we have to be very economical with the limited resource of land that we have. We have to be strategic as well. Because if you allow development to happen everywhere, and then all of a sudden now everybody say they want water, they want light, they want internet. Government never budget for it. Government never even know about it. Which is what is happening now. There are many communities that just evolved. And then people are saying, we need light, we need water. Did you know, that property that you occupy, are you paying property tax? How the light and water come? You in your little property who pay your property tax, some of that has to go to communities that just sprung up. So as a society, we have to be reasonable with each other. And the government must also be reasonable and fair and say, yes, we have this problem, so we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to enforce the law. And in parallel, we're going to increase the capacity of the government to provide a formal, fair, and efficient process that gives a fair opportunity to every Jamaican to own their own home that is at a standard of habitation and shelter that all Jamaicans can be proud of. And that is what we're doing. It is not an easy task to communicate this. because there are vested interests who want to turn this into a political issue for their political benefit. There must never be any political compromise about the rule of law. For decades, we have been winking and being duplicitous and equivocal about the enforcement of the rule of law. And that is why we are where we are today. My job as your Prime Minister, I've passed the stage of trying to, or needing to win political popularity and favor. Doesn't matter to me anymore. I have to start to think about legacy. What will Jamaica be? Will it be the same as I came and saw it? I can't let Jamaica be the same as I came and saw it.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Holness. Thank you for that reminder that there is indeed benefit in contributing to the NHT regardless of gender, regardless of age, regardless of disability. And we take into consideration your challenge as well to widen the NHT's contributor net and also to look back at our financing arrangements to see how we can better align them based on issues relating to affordability where our mortgages are concerned. Thank you again, sir. And we are now at the signal moment when the new homeowners will receive their keys. And Prime Minister, I will now invite you back to commence the handing over. And I'll ask you to remain on the lower level for this first presentation. And our first beneficiary this afternoon, I think by now we all should feel like we know him, right? He's no stranger to us. And in fact, I'll ask you, Commissioner Anderson and Minister Chang, to also join us. And I'll ask DSP Wilson to assist as we make the first presentation of keys here at Roseneath Park to a gentleman who served diligently, who served his country well. And I know my managing director, Mr. Miller, had, very special interest in this particular case. And our chairman ensured that we worked with the Council for Persons with Disabilities. I see Dr. Hendricks, thank you very much to you and your team to ensure that this presentation is not just symbolic, but that it is meaningful for Constable Graham. So ladies and gentlemen, our first beneficiary this afternoon, Constable Owen Graham. We had a site visit and an inspection about a few weeks ago, and I don't think Constable Graham has stopped smiling since. And it's a wide smile that I think it speaks volumes and depth to his level of appreciation and for what this moment means to him and also his family. So congratulations, Constable Graham. And thanks to all the individuals who worked, the persons in the welfare team at the JCF and at the NHT who worked to make this moment possible. Thank you, gentlemen. And Prime Minister, I now invite you on stage fully to continue the rest of presentations. And as our beneficiaries come, let's keep that applause going as we welcome Davina Boyd. Did I get the pronunciation right? It's a very fancy spelling. So I wanted to make sure I get it right. And I'll ask our beneficiaries that you exit to my right so we can make room for the next person. And let's keep that applause going as we welcome O'Shane Hussett. Let's make welcome as well Shaniel Fairweather. Doesn't look like Shaniel, but he's collecting for Shaniel, so he has legal authority. Our branch manager has confirmed that he has authority to collect on Shaniel's behalf. Let's welcome as well Princess Brian. Now this looks like a princess. Natisha Reese. Nadia Parks. Nicola White. Roland Ruddock. And we round off this first set of presentations with Vanessa Jackson. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prime Minister. And I'll invite at this time Member of Parliament for Southwest, St. Catherine, Minister Warmington, to make the next set of presentations. And we'll begin this set of presentations with Victor Fisher. Alicia McCook. Let's make welcome Michelle Holness. Jody K. Tucker. Raul Morgan. Thank you very much, Minister Warmington. Let me now invite NHE's Chairman, Mr. Lennox Channa, to assist with the next set of handing over of keys. And we will begin this handing over, this section, with Sophia Morris Laidlaw. Natalie Allison. Angela Lewis Hyde. and Christy K. Smith. Thank you very much, Mr. Chano. And I'll now invite our partner from Roseneath Developers Limited, Mr. McDonald, to assist with the final set of presentations this afternoon. And we begin with those presentations with Rohan, hope I get this pronunciation right, Agate, gives me the thumbs up, Rohan Agate. Let's make welcome as well Judith Johnson. Michelle Gordon. Michelle, you look like you're uncertain that I'm going to call your name. And our final beneficiary this afternoon, Mr. Ferdy Wright. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. And ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for all our beneficiaries this afternoon who represent the first batch that is completed under Roseneath Park Housing Development. And now, a section of the program that I personally like, where we get to hear from the beneficiaries themselves about what this moment means to them. And Miss Davina Boyd, new homeowner here at Roseneath Park, will speak on behalf of the beneficiaries this afternoon. Please make her welcome.
Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Deputy Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, Member of Parliament, Honorable Everard Warmilton, local councillors, the Mayor's representative, Mr. Renier Benjamin, Chairman and the management of the National Housing Trust, Managing Directors of the Roseneath Developers Limited, Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, all officials, distinguished guests, new homeowners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is with great privilege to stand before you all today on behalf of the Roseneath Park Housing Development for this special event. As we move into our new homes, it is with pride and joy that today's handing over ceremony symbolizes this chapter of renting has ended and the next chapter of home ownership has begun. Davina, I see your name in the papers, you know. Wonder who I look for me now. Fresh in my memories, on Sunday, January the 17th, 2021, when my name was published as a selectee for this unit, that would have signaled the start for new beginnings in weeks to come. In weeks to come, we would have constantly be checking our emails, the NHT's website, and social media pages, or even some of us slept with our phones, just to ensure that we did not miss out on the opportunity to miss that important communication for our interview dates. Most of the work of any institution is accomplished through people who are diligent, faithful, and committed to serving each other, one may agree that the new loan staff at the NHT St. Catherine branch never cease to have information and advise readily for us. They have made the process of own ownership easier without having to pay associated fees. And as such, I would like to extend my gratitude to Giovanni Higgins, Ricardo Sinclair, Gianni Miller, Mrs. Johnson Douglas, Rachel Webb, Kimberly Christie, Natasha Williams, and Elise Murray. Thank you. To this end, I would like to acknowledge the integral role of the Government of Jamaica and the National Holding Trust, which has established a scheme loan processing system which provides 100% financing, as well as initiatives such as the Parent Assist, which allows single applicants to qualify for a single unit using their parents' points. This enabled me, a young 33-year-old Jamaican woman, to qualify for this unit without co-applying with someone else. Some of us may have faced many challenges throughout this process. We could not have made it on our own. Some may have shed tears, expressed frustration at the process, but today we all stand as proud homeowners. 1 year, or just a couple of months, was a long journey, yet still, it seems like yesterday. Individuals such as myself would have applied from as early as December 2020. Having been shortlisted as a selectee, we would have met and communicated for months with the neighbors during various Zoom meetings hosted by the NHT's Social Development Department, or even via WhatsApp group. Oh, look at us now. We're all ready to move in. Special thanks to Mr. Dedam Codrington, Ms. Christine Fowles, and Mrs. Charmaine Scarlett of the Social Development Department at the NHT St. Catherine branch, in addition to their branch manager, lovely Mrs. Janet Hartley Millwood, for their continued support and leadership in spearheading many community initiatives and relations. Nothing is accomplished until we take that first step. Lastly, I would like to thank the Lord. Lord God, without you, nothing would have been made possible today for us. I would also like to thank my family, my father, Patrick Boyd, Mr. Troy Cotton, and my entire work family at Support Services Group for their constant support throughout this process. There is a school of thought which says, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is a path and leave a trail. Where there is no path, that is, and leave a trail. So my fellow neighbors, Michelle, Vanessa, Nikki, Alicia, you all, let us stand. Let us stand. Let us shake our keys and give us a round of applause and cheer to all our new homeowners. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Davina. All who can shake your butt. Thank you very much for that heartfelt vote of thanks on behalf of the beneficiaries here at Roseneath Park. And we are now approaching the end of the formalities. Just a few more instructions for you this afternoon. The Prime Minister and the touring party will cut the ribbon to mark the opening of the scheme. In fact, there will be 2 ribbon cuttings this afternoon, one for our regular model unit and one for the unit that has been customized for Constable Graham. Now, the first touring party will include Prime Minister Holness, Minister Warmington, Mr. Channel, Mr. McDonald, and Ms. Boyd. I ask you to join the team as they cut the ribbon as well. And for the second ribbon cutting, we assist as well with the ribbon cutting. Thereafter, Prime Minister Holness will plant a tree, as has become customary for these handing over ceremonies, to symbolize the vibrancy and sustainability of the community. And in fact, all our beneficiaries here at Roseneath Park will receive fruit trees for you to plant in your yard, so please don't leave without them. Please don't leave as well until we've had that photo up to capture this moment. So I ask that after the ribbon cutting, you join us at the front of the unit for a photo with all the beneficiaries. So it was my pleasure to have been your guide through today's proceedings. A big thank you to Edge Marketing, our event planners, to the team from PRS for our sound, to our marketing and sales team, Kamisha and Company, our social development team, our project team in construction and development, Ian, Conrad, the developers at Roseneath, Mr. Harris, Mr. McDonald, our branch staff, Mrs. Millwood, our AGM, Mrs. Newsom, all the St. Catherine branch team, the team that coordinates these events, Mrs. Ann Vidal and her team. A lot of persons to thank. A lot of persons come together to make this event possible. A big thank you to Amber Care and CPR Medical Services. Thankfully and hopefully we have not need to use your services this afternoon. But thanks again for being here to make today possible. Until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, keep well and keep safe and do enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you. I'll ask Mrs. Carly Morgan and one of our resident engineer, Conrad, to guide the team in the walkthrough of the model units. Thank you again and have a great afternoon.
Side we go. We can go through the other door. We're not supposed to go through the other door first. The back. Come.
those on the side, can you step back a little bit for me, please?
Ready?
Yep.
After 1 million. 1 million. We're going into the back.
You ready?
Yes, come. All right.
What up?
Press the override. Well, nice decorated. And this is a board. Very nice. Now, this
And now you have the bathroom with, as you can see,
modern fitting.
modern fittings, right?
Yes. Very nice. But except this hat. And I've always asked the developers why we're using these, what do you call them, sash windows?